So a quick look at the fiddle yard. Here's the entrance of the build so far. So going from one point into 2 points, which then leads into 4 tracks, and then in the middle there's the other point that's making the 6th track. And as you can see, if I just zoom that in a little bit closer to you, here's the progress that we've made so far. And right in the middle here are these Model Tech rail joiners. They remind me of somebody's teeth that's just had braces on, the way that they look, rather strange. And for those of you that have not seen some of my earlier videos, this fiddle yard is out of its position at the moment. I'm building it, erecting it out of where it's going to go normally, because it's going to go behind here. So these battens, cross battens, you can just see some baseboard struts at the back there, and that's where the baseboard is going to go, which is why I'm not so worried about the aesthetics. So yeah, so that's where we are. The next job then is to build and lay straight tracks all the way down the bottom, and I'll let you follow that journey. Okay, so it's a new day and we're back on building the fiddle yard second baseboard, which will run from where I joined these rails yesterday, and now I've got to put and create 6 very straight tracks that will run 12 feet. So let's see how we get on. Lovely smell, copy decks. Gets right under your nose. Like an ammonia smell. I remember using it at school. It's a smell that just comes straight back to me. The good thing about it is it sets reasonably clear, so you don't have to worry too much of making a mess. Plus this is going to go behind this batten board here into this cavity, so it's not really it's not unseen at all, so that's not something to worry about either. And of course you'd ballast over these usually, so here we go. Now it's a case of just getting this straight. So I've got 2 track setters, straight ones, and I'm going to put those on the track now. There we go. So I've now got that into a so the bend is around, starts from here going into the point, so it will, there we go. So I'm going to just put a tack into this hole here that I'd already pre-prepared. Check, yeah, I'm happy with that. Where's my little hammer, just to tack it down. Look at that. Yeah. So I put another one in somewhere down here. Let's have a look. That one goes there. We shall have another one. My vice drill. do have some spare tack somewhere. Here we go. Into the hole. She goes. Track setter away slightly. In position. Just going to put the piece in at the end, just to hold the track down where I want it. I've just adjusted the camera so we can so you can get a great shot, or a much better shot than the one that I was showing you before. So I'm just putting track 2 in to a straight position. Hopefully straight. Anyway, it will certainly help with my OCD to see 6 lovely straight tracks bending into the points that I created further north. That's not my eyes are really bad. There we go. I'm not hammering it in hard at all. I'm just tacking it into place. I mean, they're literally just going into the ply board. The plan is to take those tacks out once the glue's dried. So I'm just going to look down. Yeah, I'm happy with that. Track is down and the glue is setting, so we'll move on to the next one. So I shall glue this into position, take the track out a little bit further this time. Put the cap on. I've not given you a weather update today for the UK, so today is the 27th of March. We've suddenly got to the end of March fairly quickly, and spring has definitely arrived this week. Today is 15 degrees outside, but we have some lovely blue sky again, so from a loft point of view, the heat that's going on to the dark tiles is penetrating through, radiating through into the loft. This foil here makes a big difference in terms of the heat radiating through, but I didn't run it all the way along the line of the roof. I only ran it along the side where the railway is, and when I put my hand up against the roof felt where there is no insulation, I can definitely feel the heat radiating through. When I put my hand up here, I can't. So this, a lot of people said this doesn't work. It definitely does work, but obviously I need to do the whole of the roof, and that's something that I'll do at a later stage. So let's get this into position now. So I'll get the rail joiners in. First time, that's a first for me. Pull the wires through a little bit, there we go. Glue on my finger, so I needed my painting trousers on today, and I've not put them on, so I think I'll put them on a little bit later on. Now against these, in these rail joiners, I need to leave a gap, because obviously for the heat, so it's a warm day and we're laying track, so that's some people would say that's good. It's not hot, but it's warm, and so I am going to leave a bit of a gap. I'll just pull the rails slightly closer together. How big a gap is the question, and I have asked this question online and on rail forums, and you can't really get a definitive answer. That's interesting. When I thought I'd got the rail joiner in, hadn't. That's me being too clever. I find it's much better to do looking sideways on than it is from the top. Right, there we go. So I've probably allowed 1 mil difference, maybe 2 mil difference there, the gap in between them both. So I can now be confident to run my track setter across. As long as it stays in position, which it does. Right, so the next step is this Model Tech rail aligner. Now we're on a right angled board here. I'm not coming across at an angle, we're coming across straight. Right, so these two pieces of track are hopefully in the straight position, and the next step now is to fit this Model Tech rail aligner. Now the tracks are cut already, so they're perfect for the end of the board, and this should just slide straight underneath, and the glue is in place already. Okay, so I know what I forgot to do here. What I forgot to do is to trim the tie properly. Right, that's done it now. It's really important that here the plastic that's underneath holding these sleepers together is cut all the way back to this sleeper here. If you leave a little bit on, this rail aligner will not go into position, or the position that you want it. So it's now in position, and I'm going to allow that to glue itself down. Whilst it's doing that, I'm just going to drill those holes slightly bigger, check it's in position again, and it is. It's much easier aligning that when it's on straight rather than when you're on an angle. So I'm just going to try to allow that to dry while I move on to the next ones. So that's the method I'm going to use now for the next 4 tracks. I won't take you through that on video because otherwise you'll get bored. And so I'll see you at the other side. So there we go. That's the track laid now on the second baseboard. As you can see, I'll have to spin the camera slightly to show you. So we came out the point network. There's the joint just there for the second, between the first and the second baseboard. All those problemed Model Tech rail aligners, and then the next thing I did was put the next sets of tracks and the power to those tracks. The track power is slightly disjointed in where I've put it on these tracks, because there was some power further up on the other 2 tracks. But they come down. Let's twist the camera now. They come down, and then we've got power to all 6 tracks just here, you can see. And perfectly, I'll bring this around here, these Model Tech rail aligners are much better on straight edges. So thanks to all the comments that I've got on the last video and also on Instagram about these. Yes, they are much better on straight edges. So the next task is just to let these tracks just dry off with the Copydex. I nailed down where they were coming from, the bends, just to keep the shape of the bend, but on the straights I literally didn't put any tacks down. I just let the copper decks hold them down, and as you can see, I tried to use the track setter to keep the track straight. And if I show you from the other side, what do you think? Any good? Could do better? Let me know. I'm relatively pleased as a novice with the shape and the width. They're not evenly spaced about, because the challenge of coming out some of these points, the angles made it that they were much wider than be able to get an even width. But the width is sufficient between each track, and I'm relatively happy with it. The next job then is just to let these dry off for an hour or so, and then I'm going to turn the board over and I'm going to connect all the electrics underneath. It's just a simple power bus that comes from adjoining from the other board, baseboard 1 into baseboard 2, and I'll just connect them up with the terminal connectors again like I did before. So yeah, there we go. It's now Thursday and I've just completed gluing down the third board, as you can see here. So the last track here, which is just glued down, track setters in place, spirit level, just making sure that the tracks are all aligned, and yeah, that's the third board done. I'm now going to, well, not the third board fully done actually, I must say. I've now got to put the ends on to the join, which is about where the copy decks is, and then I've got board 4 and board 5 to do. So board 4 is going to be interesting because of we're coming from 6 lines into 5. Okay, it's another day now, and I'm coming just to try and finish off this straight track. Having got to the layout this morning, I found this wire that had become unsoldered. So this track is now fixed down. So I'm going to have to solder this to the side of the track here. So that's one job to do when I've got the soldering iron out. But the next jobs are to put the straight track through here and the 2 straight onto here. So the plan is to finish off bringing all the straight track down onto 5 roads just to here. So that's the challenge that I've got now, in fixing more of these rail aligners and bringing the 6th track into the 5th track and putting this point on. So this point is going to go like this here. So the plan is to fix this straight track for this to be straight here, and then take the 6th road off onto there, whilst also having these 2 lines. Then all the tracks become straight edged here. So that's my tasks. Okay, so I've got as far as I can today. These joints here on this board are now 5 out of 6 are now complete, and the lines are cut for the 6th line. Sorry, the tracks are cut for the 6th line. As you can see, it bends nicely and fits into that left-hand point just there. But I've run out of solder. So I knew I was getting short, but I didn't realise I was that short. So I've got to stop and go to the model shop tomorrow, hopefully, and first thing get some solder, and then I can crack on and finish that, which will take me nicely then to all 5 lines now, coming to the end of this board, and then it's a case of the point network coming from this left hand side. And as you can see, I'm ready with my left and right hand points, because I'm going to use a different formation as I did from the other side, which is where they're all curved turnouts, if you remember. And there you are. Because of the difficulties coming in over the boards on the angles, joining the rails. Really took me some time, so I'm going to try a different one. I'm going to come in with straight left hand and right hand points, but just this bit to finish off tomorrow to get me to there, and I just need to decide what that point formation is going to look like. So that's the fourth baseboard that's now done, which is starting from here at the top of your screen, and then that feeds its way from those 6 lines, track 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 into 5, and because of this one here comes it into the 5th track, because when this baseboard moves behind this area here that you just can't see, then there's some strapping across the roof struts. That means that I had to cut the baseboard in a little bit just at this point in time, so I couldn't get 6 coming straight across, but I can get 5. So this comes in here at this left hand point. The wires are already in. I will need to turn baseboard 3 over and turn baseboard 2 over and do the wires, so but that's not a problem. And then it's moving into baseboard 5, which is going to be the point network entering into this area or exiting this area. So I'll show you that next. So this is now looking at the final board of this side of the fiddle yards, and this is where the point network will start to bring the 5 tracks into one. So as you can see, I've already started this, so this is the end of the board which we've just been looking at. So that's the end of baseboard 4 going into baseboard 5, and this is the straight track. So this is the first track that I've actually laid, stuck down, and got the cable in. The dropper wires are already in, and I've started to create the shape going into track 4. So this is track 3. So yeah, I've took that. I did take that one out though for track 4, because I'll talk about that in a minute. But I lost a little bit of the shape, and the track that kept the rails started to come away from the sleepers, because I was putting pressure on it to try and move the track across, and it broke. So I'm going to have to redo a new piece to go in there. So essentially I've got tracks to put in here, here, here and here. So track 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5, because ultimately this will be a 3-way asymmetric point that will go here. It's already marked out for it, and then a 3rd radius curve will come into this point here. So we're going from one track into the 3-way asymmetric curve. Single track going out onto line 5, ultimately feeding line 6, and then a left hand and a right hand point feeding into the other tracks. So my job today is to get that where it needs to be. So you can follow that journey if you want, nice and fast. So just a little bit about the 3-way asymmetric turnout. I don't know if many of you have used this type of point network before. It looks really complicated when you first get it. Obviously there are 3 frog wires that are wrapped round. I like the fact that these frog wires are protected. I wish they'd do that on the other points, because I've snapped a couple, and that will be helpful to save snapping those cables going forward. So they do it on this one for some reason, but not on the others. So, and then the just make sure it's in focus for you. There you go. The design on the back of how to wire this looks a little bit complicated, because they're suggesting actually that you use their point motors, but I'm not using their point motors. I'm using the DCC IP cobalt pult digital motors. I can never get those words out. I'm using those. I used 5, 6 on the other side of this fiddle yard, and I'm going to use those here too. I need to order them, by the way, but that's another point. So anyways, how do we wire this then? So it's actually much more straightforward than you first think it is. And let me just get that, make sure it's on focus for you and get that a little bit closer. Here we go. So what I've done so far to prepare the point is I've actually taken the springs out of this here. So that's loosely hanging, and I've also taken the spring out of this one as well. So I've done that so far, and then if you turn it over, what you will see is I can hardly see it here, there's a gap within the plastic sleepers that have been left, and that's where you actually put your dropper wires. So as this is going this way around, this here, these 3 cable will be soldered across those 3 rails, and that'll be my black wire, and then a separate cable will be soldered across those 3 rails, which will be my red wire. Obviously important to make sure they don't touch in the middle. And then we have the frog wires. So these 2 frog wires ultimately will go through the board and then will be brought together, and they will enter the point motor that will be underneath this part of the point here. No, sorry, start again. Just being very careful. Those 2 wires will be joined together and will come to the bottom part of the point, and so they'll go into the motor there, and then the top wire will go into this point that's on this this movement here. So, and then it's as simple as that. Having wired the dropper wires, having put the frog wires into the correct point motors, it will be just about done. So that's where I am. You will notice from here that I've just put a little track extension on the end of where this turnout comes, just because it's going into another point here, and it just gives me enough space to really kind of get those in the correct position without the tracks having to be cut and trimmed and nibbled away, so they fit in line with each other. And therefore I've put the insulated rail joiner on here rather than at this point in time, because the power can come through this track extension here. There's an insulated rail joiner to go on here, so there'll be 1, 2, 3, 4. There's another one to go on there, and then the 2 outside rails will have the normal rail joiners, and then that should be right for it working. So if any of you guys have actually fitted and used these, let me know how you get on with them, and whether the way that I'm fitting them is the right way to do it, or do you have another way of doing it. Yeah, it'd be good to know your thoughts. So yeah, let's crack on and try and get this point network finished, because I'm going to have a few days off and do a little bit of travelling, so I'd like to get this done and completed. Just a final point on these rail aligners, these Model Tech rail aligners. You can see here, they've been much easier to fix together because I've got straight track with straight edge boards. I had a lot of problems on the first board where there were curved tracks coming in. So what I've now done for this last board, because the track will need to curve, is I've decided to fit the rail joiner aligner first and glue that down, and I'm just going to put some tacks in them as well so they don't move, and then going to solder the straight track onto it before I start to shape it, so that actually that stays in position and it doesn't move. And so the plan is to put the track in, tack the track down for the first 3 sleepers, and then shape it in. So that should be in the position that I want it to be, and the rails will be nicely aligned. So you can see I can't find the right method for actually fitting these in. I need to get this in position because this is my straight track, so that's what I've done. And now I'm trying to manipulate some flexi track, and the more you shorten it and the more you take sleepers out, loses the structure of the rail, and if you lose the structure of the rail, and of course then the chairs just strip straight off when you're trying to bend it into position. I know you could probably say, well, you actually need to put this track in, and then fit the point. Maybe that's what I should do. Maybe I should just lift this, push it back a little bit. It's glued down, but I can lift it and then glue it back down again. So it looks as though that's what I'm going to do. Okay, as you can see, that's track 1 in place, soldered at the rail aligner, dropper wires added and shaped, glued down and in position. This point isn't glued down, so I can move it to get this next piece of track in, so hopefully that should be reasonably straightforward. I have a little bit of a bend in it. So yeah, that's my next one. So track 2 now, let's give that a go. There we go, that's track number 2 in place, nailed down with a little bit of shape and bend into the point. They're not easy to fit, I'll tell you. but they're a little bit easier than the curve points. So I'll now move on to track number 5. Okay, so that's track number 5 now in place. after a bit of messing around. And now I'm going to glue this point into here, this left hand point, and then this is glued, that's glued, this will be glued. Add the dropper wires, put the frog down, and then finally, once that's glued down, this three-way point can then be prepared and also then glued into position. Let's continue to progress. Okay, so I've prepared the point. Everything should be ready to go. Drilled a hole for the point motor, holes for the dropper wires and the frog wire. Rail joiners, insulated rail joiners, all ready to go. So I think we can just start to glue this into position. So Copidex is such a great glue, really, because if you make a mistake you can take it back up, and all you have to do is just rub the dry glue and it just rubs away. But yet, when it's in position and holding the track, it's strong enough for what you need. It's a really good glue. Like super glue, if you get a little bit on your hands and you've got it on forever. I think that's enough. I'm in position with this point. This is the last one, which will need the work. It allows me just to glue those down. Where the tracks are, they should just hold the points where I need them anyway. Frog point is popping underneath, which is good. Let that dry. And then just come back in an hour or two just to fix this last point. Wow, that was it. Unbelievable. Great. So I'm finally pleased to be able to say that this Southside fiddle yard that I've been working on for a few weeks now, I know it's been slow and there's been a number of videos about different aspects of it, but I'm finally pleased and delighted that the track work is now complete. So I've just finished the 5th board, which is this one here, coming from the 5 tracks, narrowing down into the 3-way asymmetric turnout, which then some flexi track, curved flexi track, will take it out of the fiddle yard and onto the main line. So there we go. It's been a real learning exercise, and I've tried quite a lot of different techniques, some successful, some not so successful, but I've enjoyed it, and yeah, I can just show you all the way down now, so you can see all the way down to the other end. So if you remember, start at the other end with curved turnouts, and aesthetically I think they look great, but they took me a long time to get that board right, and this time I've come into either the entry or the exit, which way ever you want to look at it, on this side of the layout with a 3-way asymmetric turnout, and then with 2 left hand points, which goes into the 5 tracks, with another left hand point here goes and makes 6 tracks. So lovely long lengths to store my HST Class 91 sets with the East Coast theme. there we go. Thanks for your patience. Thanks for all the comments that I've received all the way through these various videos, suggesting to me better ways of doing things. I do really appreciate it, and I've tried to take on board as much as I can do. And if I haven't taken yours on board yet, then I'm likely to do that when I start the second fiddle yard. So this is only the south side, and just to show you, here's a whole new north side that I will need to start. Not just yet. I'm just about to have a break actually for a couple of weeks vacation. I'm going travelling, so a well-earned break, but I'll be excited to come back onto the layout. And next job on the south side here is to sort all the cabling out on each board, so get all the connectors up. So I've done the first two boards, so I've got another 3 boards to do, so that should be a nice day's job for me. I enjoy doing that, so that should be good. I've tried to keep them in some kind of order, and I've also got the point motors to fix on this this part of the layout here that I've just done. So I'll wait for those to arrive when I get back from vacation. And if some of you haven't realised where this fiddle yard's going, everything's been done offline, and then it's going to slide behind here. So I'll just take you inside now, show you. So it's going to go in there all the way down, so it will be hidden, which is why I've done a lot of my cabling as I have done, because it's off scene. So yeah, so there we go. Thanks for watching this episode. Appreciate your patience, and look forward to, I'll do another video where I'll just tidy up the cabling underneath and show you that, and then I'll be starting the north side of the fiddle yard. So thanks for following. If you haven't subscribed already, then please do so. If you're not following me, please do so as well. You know, every bit of support that we can get from you guys just makes a huge difference to us in trying to build this fledgling YouTube channel of me being a novice railway modeller at the age of 59. So yeah, have a good couple of weeks, and I look forward to seeing you again shortly.